Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wheelhouse workshop on Wheelhouse BI and the RM guide. We're going to give it a few minutes for everyone to come in. So we'll get started no later than 5 after. But, welcome and please feel free to say hi in chat. We're pretty excited about what we have to share with you guys. You're also our evangelists. So if you're excited after this, tell everybody. Hey, Henry, how's it going, man?
Hi, Henry.
Up, Henry.
Awesome. Yeah, let us know where you are, where your portfolio is, how many units you got, anything you want to share. We'd love to know. We're very excited to share with you what we got today. This is my second webinar today, so I'm on a webinar roll.
Scottsdale, Vale, nice.
Dale. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Viking season starting off good for you? Hey, Amber. Haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Nice. Well, we'll try not to go long for you, Mike, so you can get a good ride in. Give it like 2 more minutes. Got some people still hopping in. Yeah, everyone is going to be muted on this because it is a webinar format. If you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll try to be aware of what questions are asked. If it's a really complicated question, we'll hit you up afterwards, and we should be good. Right. 5 minutes goes slow when you're watching the clock, huh? Hope everyone's having a good post-Easter and that the summer booking is going good for everyone. We've been doing quite a bit of data calls with folks in different regions, and I know that there's a little bit of trepidation this year. Yeah, interesting year. Henry definitely describes it. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get started? This will be recorded, so if you wanted to go back and see anything, you're welcome to. If you wanted to share with anyone, because we've got some pretty cool information here, let us know. Happy to have it shared out. This is a workshop on Wheelhouse Business Intelligence and our brand new RM guide. So we'll dig into that, what that means a little bit, but we're super excited. These are actually some pretty big releases that we're offering to folks, and we wanted to make sure you guys are in the know. So short introduction. My name is John DeRelay. I'm the head of revenue management education at Wheelhouse. Many of you guys have probably talked to me or seen me around. I've been doing this for quite a long time, been with Wheelhouse for 4 years. Then prior to that, I led and built the revenue management team in an organization called Stay Alfred, which had pre-COVID about 3,000 units across 30 US cities. And we had a team of about 10 revenue managers. So went from the days of answering phone calls and pursuing leads on HomeAway and FlipKey to really managing robust pricing solutions across thousands of units. So pleasure to be chatting with you guys today. Ashley, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Ashley Kraft. I'm based in the Nashville area. I have been with Wheelhouse now about 10 months, but I have been in this industry for 10 or 11 years now. Started with a company that most know. It was called Turnkey before it was bought out by Vacasa. I was actually employee number 27 at Turnkey when it was very much still a startup. Helped them get Nashville kind of ramped up there in account management and helped with the GM as well. And then kind of moved into the Southeast region to help with Turnkey before I left there, and helped with some other property managers and kind of got on the vendor side of things, working with mainly pricing. So super happy to be working with you guys and kind of going over what all Wheelhouse has to offer. I'm going to kick it over to Keegan.
Everyone, Keegan here. I'm actually based up in Washington State as well. And I'm almost to Canada up. I'm in Bellingham, Washington, basically 30 minutes from the border. I've been with Wheelhouse a little over 2 years at this point, full time. I've been doing revenue management for about 8 years. Actually got my start back in the day at Stay Alfred as well, just like John. And I did revenue management consulting for a few years before I joined Wheelhouse, and I used the platform exclusively. So love the product, love what we're offering for y'all here, and excited to get into it today.
Should be a good panel, and also my favorite team, given that it's the team we're all on. Okay, so first agenda. What we're going to be talking about today is we're going to cover a little bit of something that we're offering to everyone in the space, and we're really excited to announce. Wheelhouse has been developing a business intelligence platform as part of our pricing offering for the last, 4 years. We're really pleased with it. It gives a lot of visibility and a lot of unique stuff, and we're actually announcing that we're offering that for free to everyone. Wheelhouse customer or not. So if you've seen really cool pictures or you really like our business intelligence, anyone will actually be able to get access to that, whether they're using Wheelhouse pricing or not. So that's first kind of piece of the agenda, should be pretty exciting. Second, we are also releasing, to go along with that business intelligence tool, probably the most comprehensive guide on revenue management in our space produced yet. Now, we're going to be releasing the first 3 sections of it out of the 5 that we've done initially. The other 2 will be coming soon, but we're really excited about this. We've put a ton of work in. Obviously, my role is in leading education efforts in our space. Keegan is an educator. Ashley's worked as an educator and revenue manager as well. So we've put a lot of thought into giving you really, really deep, specific knowledge and put that together, and that'll be available to you as well. In going through this RM guide stuff, we've kind of structured the workshop around how you can use some of these tools, and we've aligned them with the revenue management guide. So pretty awesome. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll answer them as we get to them. First part of this agenda is the free performance insights for all. So Wheelhouse Performance Insights include our performance page, our in-context visualizations, and our brand new dashboards, which you'll get a little sneak peek on. All you have to do to access this information now is to connect to your account. In the past, paid Wheelhouse users had access to this business intelligence tool. Now all of you can access your pickup, your revenue, your occupancy situation. You can look at it monthly, weekly, daily, all kinds of stuff. This is really exciting. We think that this year is really a kind of a difficult year. Last couple of years since COVID have been really volatile. We want to make sure that everyone in the space is pricing as well as they can. And that's why we're making this product available. Also, our CFO was out on leave, so we managed to convince the CEO that this was a good idea before he came back. So next piece is the Ultimate RM Guide. So the Ultimate RM Guide is the kind of companion education materials we're providing with this. We will be continuing to develop these. As I mentioned before, we have 2 sections that haven't been released yet, but we will be releasing the first 3 sections. This is really oriented around how to do revenue management on a regular basis, and it also incorporates a lot of support for how to use the tools that we're now offering you for free. I'm going to hop out of this. 1 second. I've got too many things. So today, what we're going to cover primarily is the identify and intervene chapters. So we're going to show you how to use the new free Performance BI tools to identify opportunities in your portfolios. We're going to show you how you would intervene if you were using Wheelhouse pricing. But in addition to that, even if you're not using Wheelhouse pricing, there's a number of additional data tools that can help guide your interventions, even if you're using a different platform or doing your revenue management manually. In addition, we're also releasing our foundation chapter, which is kind of basics and concepts as well. We're not going to talk about that one too much today, but it'll be released. And then we'll give you a sneak peek of an upcoming chapter called Communicate, which is going to be paired with some really cool product releases that we're not going to tell you about. Okay, so just to give you a little deeper idea of what is in this Wheelhouse Active Revenue Management Guide. This is going to be posted for everyone on our website. It's not behind a paywall or anything. And we've done a lot of work to build pretty robust articles to give the most comprehensive revenue management education available specific to STRs and vacation rentals. This page right here is showing all the different chapters. So I've got, foundations, identify, intervene, and then our coming soon, communicate and process. And when I click into these, you'll see what I mean by how robust they are. So if I go to foundations, even just looking at the table of contents, we've got quite a lot here. So this is a really deep dive into the different concepts and practices that you can use. All of us on the team, including our CEO, have written and contributed to this. We've spent a lot of time editing it. Probably not something you're going to sit down and read all at once, but we have split it up for you. And we do plan to continue to develop this because we know that, right now you can get a certification and even a degree in revenue management for hotels, but that educational layer doesn't quite exist in vacation rentals. There's a lot of really high level stuff and a lot of really, really deep stuff, but we're kind of missing the middle. And that's what we're hoping to provide for you. So if you really want to up your game or understand your foundational concepts, or you're training someone new in revenue management, these resources are going to be available. Awesome. Any questions on that? Did I miss anything, Keegan or Ashley?
No.
Neato. All right. So for our first chapter, Keegan's going to take us away.
Awesome. So we're going to focus on some of the content from our chapter 2, identify, foundation, which was listed before. We're not going to cover all of that today, but it is available on the course. But yeah, we can go ahead and go to the next slide and we'll kind of give an overview of what some of the stuff I'll cover. So with identify, we're going to actually use one page in particular in Wheelhouse today to cover some of these topics, which will be our performance page. I'll demo that in a second. I'll steal the screen share. But just to give an overview and a reference if you guys want to come back later to this slide deck to see and remember what we covered. We're going to practice using a basic reservations table today. A lot of you may have already done this practice or currently do it, but I'll show you where it's at on the performance page, how I would opt to use it. We'll also visit a pickup chart or a daily book night chart to look at, yep, there's a good image for it here. Look at some upcoming dates, some well booking dates, how I would incorporate this in my revenue management practices. And then additionally on that chart, we'll use some overlays to provide more context as well. And then showcase one of the built-in functions of the performance page in Wheelhouse, which is the same time last year capability as well. So let's get into it. I'm going to steal the screen sharing here.
Steal it. I gave it to you.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. Can y'all see the dashboard here?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So we won't be covering the dashboard, but we did just release this. And as John said, if you sign up and connect your account, you'll have free access to this new dashboard. For the purpose of today's demo, I'm actually going to head up here in the top left to our performance page.
You want me to annotate sometimes when you're pointing at stuff?
That would be great. Yeah. I added the little red dot, so hopefully you can see my cursor a little bit better. But so when you first land to this page, you won't see exactly what I do. When you first come here, you may need to toggle what metrics you're going to be using up here in the top right, using this drop down. Right now, I'm looking at book nights, which I'll get to more in a second, but it will by default show total revenue. And that's great. Sometimes I want to look at revenue, but for today's demo, I'm going to switch this to book nights. And then this sales analysis chart will look a little bit different. There is this drop down here. By default, it'll be a monthly. Today, for my purposes, I've changed it to daily. And then just a quick navigation tip here as well. You have a lot of built-in filters up here too. So you can, if you segment by bedroom, market, different things like that, that's great. If you want to, get the full capabilities of the platform, I suggest tagging your listings. That's a whole other conversation. But if you've used Wheelhouse, you know what I'm talking about. But first, let's start actually at the very bottom of the page. So I'm going to scroll down. And at the very bottom, we have a reservations table. Pretty basic reservations table. It won't be as detailed on reservation info or guest info like your PMS would be. But essentially, every reservation I have for my listings is here with the stay dates, reservation date when it was booked, and then the metrics as well, right? So revenue, length of stay, lead time, right? I think many of us in the industry have used this, but it is a great tool to quickly spot check any recent sales. And what I mean by that is I've already sorted by the reservation date here. It's actually going from oldest to newest, but I can actually reverse this and have it show me the most recent sales at the top, right? So now it's sorted by reservation date. Obviously, a lot of reservations yesterday. Actually, this full page of all 17 reservations were all made yesterday. And this is just a nice, quick, high level way of like looking at recent sales and getting any red flags or anything like that, right? And what I mean by that is, as a revenue manager, I can spot check these and catch anything that might not make sense to me, right? So for example, I see this listing here has an average nightly rate without fees of $71. I look at the stay dates. I'm like, okay, that's just before Memorial Day. Maybe that's okay. Is that too low from what I would expect for that market of that listing, right? So it's a nice way to spot check revenue and ADRs, common thing, right? For example, I see quickly $55 booked here for only 3 nights for this time frame. Okay, is that what I expect? Does that seem off from what I thought I posted my rates at? Is there some large discount being applied? Right? You can ask a lot of questions here and get visibility and then dive in deeper as needed. So common things are just looking at ADRs, of course. I always look at length of stay too, just to make sure, you know, like a one night stay. Oh, typically I don't take one night stays, and it was for $34. Okay. Probably want to look at that. Seems a little bit low, especially for a one night stay, right? So you can quickly kind of spot recent sales if there's anything that seems odd or off, essentially. But the key point here is sorting by that reservation date so you can quickly glance, right? Maybe I looked at beginning of the week, so I would go through and look at the last couple days, scrolling through the pages to check all the recent sales. And this is exportable too. So like you connect your account, you get access to this, you can export it for your own tools as well in Wheelhouse, which is pretty nice. So that's CSV or Excel. Sweet. The next thing we're really going to dive into here is this top chart. And like I mentioned, I took some time to set this up, but I'm essentially looking at a pickup chart on the daily level with booked nights. Now, as you're looking at this drop down, you may ask, okay, why not use occupancy? Totally valid to use occupancy. I prefer book nights personally, because for any given day, if I hover over, actually, let me zoom in and then hover over so you can see this a little bit easier. For any given day, what book nights tell me is essentially how many properties have I sold on that given day, right? So right now, and let me remove this for now, I'll bring that up in a second. Right now, it's telling me, hey, you have a total of 64 nights on June 6th. That's 64 nights out of my 233 listings, right? Now my mental math isn't the strongest, but I think that's like 169 listings left to sell. So it's kind of nice using book nights. It tells me exactly how many properties I have left to sell, right? Whereas if I go ahead and switch this over to adjusted occupancy, for example, 32%. Okay, I know what that means, right? Obviously, I'm about a third sold on that given day. But from the RM perspective, I want to know, okay, how many listings do I actually have left to sell, right? And that is especially important as you near a sellout, right? This day is still quite a ways away from selling out, but if I reset and start looking at some days that are closer in, right? I'm obviously more compressed here in the short term. Okay, especially when it's expiring inventory, that matters a lot. How many properties do I have left to sell? I want to get towards that sellout if possible, right? So this is super helpful. This is essentially what the daily pickup chart is doing. Now I hid this, but earlier I had this toggled here, which is the last 14 days. What this is doing is highlighting those pink tips so you can tell the difference there visually. But what it is doing, if I go back to zoom in on June 6th again, not only do I have 64 nights or 64 listings sold on that day, over the last 2 weeks, 15 out of those 64 were sold, right? So for June 6th, over the last 2 weeks, I've sold about almost a quarter of what the total inventory that I've sold, right? So that's pretty good pacing. I probably would want to keep my eyes on this. We'll go over this more in a second when I start looking at these shapes visually, but that's quite literally what the chart is telling me, right? I don't have chat pulled up, but let me know if there's any questions as I'm walking through things. I got it pulled up now. Okay, so let's get into maybe a bit more interesting ways to use this. So that's what the chart does, but how do I use this? Well, you kind of, as you use this more and more, and this is something we go over in the guide, you get a sense for the shapes here, and that's really important, right? And I think the the most simple shapes to start with are peaks and valleys, right? And what I mean by that is that you want to look for peaks of occupancy or compression here, right? And here. So I'm just kind of where my eyes are drawn. I'm seeing these like peaks of book nights, right? Those can be an indicator that they may be high demand days, right? Especially if I've been booking pretty well over the last 2 weeks over some of these time periods. I may need to assess my current asking rates, right? I need to see if I have any gap nights that I can maybe capitalize on, right? There's a lot of things I could do, but my eyes are drawn to these because those are obviously dates that people are booking. Valleys, meaning where does occupancy drop off, right? And there's quite a few here where occupancy drops off. There's this time period here just after Easter. That makes sense. Here's this time period here in the middle or in the end of April. One that really catches my eyes looking at this is this drop here. And that is actually right before Memorial Day weekend. And interestingly enough, the weekend before Memorial Day weekend is actually selling better and has currently more on the books than Memorial Day, right? Now, full disclosure, some of these listings are hypothetical on my account. So this may not be based in completely in reality here. Whereas in your portfolio, I would hope, unless there's some event going on here that's really good, I would hope your Memorial Day is looking better than the weekend before. But if it's not, and in this case, it might be something I need to address, right? Maybe I'm holding my rates way too high, right? And we're going to get to that later. I think Ashley's going to show another overlay here that can be really helpful to assess your current asking rates. But it's all about peaks and valleys. Let me show you another shape that is good to look for. And we have these listed out in the guide, and I think there's about 5 of them that we list. But this segment, and this is something I would do on this page as well, I would call out that I'm not going to just look at all 230 listings and call it good. I would do my due diligence as a revenue manager, and I would filter by those different segments, either tags, bedrooms, right? If you're using Wheelhouse to its full capabilities, you can actually build out segments, which are your groupings, right? So I have like my Nashville 1 beds, Nashville 2 beds, Nashville 3 and 4 beds, right? So I would actually use all those segments and go through all those groups and look at them, right? And it's important because, for example, if we look at this segment, this looks much different than what I was seeing for the overall portfolio, right? The occupancy pretty much drops off after June 6th, right? Whereas the whole portfolio, I was seeing actually decent booking and a peak of occupancy over June 6th. This is basically dropping off, almost like a cliff here, which is generally not a good sign, especially in my hypothetical portfolio, considering most of them are in the Pacific Northwest. I'm heading towards my high season. These were real listings. I would be very worried right now, right? Like I'm heading to high season. I'm not seeing anything happening. Is that due to my rate position or their blocks on the calendars, right? There could be many reasons why, but it does show me, hey, I should probably take a look at this. So this chart is extremely powerful because of the view it gives you. It's really simple in theory, but in practice, it's super helpful, right? It gives you a nice high level view, and then it lets you drill in using segments and filters and things like that. Cool. One more thing here, and I'm going to pass it off for the sake of time to John to start talking about how we maybe take those next steps, right? I was saying I'm asking a lot of questions. What do I do next? John will kind of go over that. But one last thing I want to point out on this page that is a tool that a lot of people and a lot of revenue managers may have built on their own or have seen it before. But under this add comparison on this page, there's a lot of things I can compare to, right? I can do A/B comparisons between my own portfolio. I can do it between segments, right? So for example, if I wanted to compare how my Nashville 1 beds are booking compared to my Nashville 2 beds, totally could do that, right? It's a nice thing to do. But we also have this same time last year functionality just built in. And this, if I go ahead and click it, I'm going to zoom in because it can be kind of hard to look at from this high level view. This essentially now is showing me the same thing before in pink, right? So this is the segment of listings I was looking at, but now in green, it's telling me, hey, at this exact date, so April 24th, 2024, what were the book nights looking like, right? So essentially it's showing me at the same time last year, what was my occupancy? How was I selling? Now I can definitely see I'm in general, like well ahead of where I was last year. Now, some considerations here. Did this group of properties grow a lot, right? Did I just double the number of listings within this tag group? Okay, that's probably why I'm seeing such better occupancy this year. I just have more to sell. If it's consistent year over year, and these are the same number of listings or roughly, then I'm doing pretty well occupancy wise, right? The last thing I'll show is one overlay, because occupancy is definitely one side of the coin here. I would also probably look at my average daily rate. And so there's an overlay drop down for the chart here. There's a lot. We're not going to go over all of this. Ashley's going to cover a couple more later. But the one I'm going to do right now is ADR, right? So now I can pull in this dashed line, and in pink, it's showing my current ADR for this upcoming year. Dash green is showing same time the last year for the group of listings as well. So something that's exciting to me, early May, not only am I crushing it occupancy wise, my ADR is actually even higher there. So, right. So to me, that shows, hey, overall, killing it. Hopefully I can keep selling out there. My RevPAR performance can be really, really good over year.
Don't switch off when you're done, Keegan,
Yeah,
before I take it.
I'm good. You can take over if you want for the next.
So just quick synopsis. This is really great. Obviously, we showed you some deeper things. If you are reading the guide, it will talk to you about different shapes that you can look for when looking at this data. The big thing here is this is a visualization of your tape chart with all of your bookings highlighted. That way you know what is selling and what days that's occurring on. A lot of people scan their tape chart to try to figure that out. They're looking at a list of bookings. Getting used to looking at this visualization allows you just to see that kind of all at once, so that when you're making a decision about intervening on your rate plan or making changes, you know right where to look and you don't have to look for that needle in the haystack. There's a lot of great views here. We focused on the daily because a lot of revenue managers like to start there. But honestly, a lot of people start on just the weekly or monthly because it's a lot easier for people to see initially, and you can get that same kind of information, highlighting the sales and knowing kind of where you're sitting. Quick reminder on this. This entire performance page platform is free now. So if you go to usewheelhouse.com and sign up for an account and link your account, you can access your portfolio's data through this platform without having to pay us. You'll probably get an email from us, but you will be able to use this, no questions asked. Okay. Pretty cool. Any questions so far? Cool. I'll take it back.
I'm giving it to you.
Thank you. All right. This next section that we're going to be talking about is called intervene. So the first section of the guide was identify. That is how you find opportunities, or how you know kind of what's going on in your portfolio. This next section is intervene. Like, as a revenue manager, you're probably going in and making changes, whether or not you're using a pricing platform, right? A pricing platform is something that's meant to assist you, but at the end of the day, your strategy is going to help you get into that like top percentile of performance. So intervene is generally going to be something that is specific to people who are using a pricing platform. So some of the things I'll give you a hint on are people who are using us for pricing. However, as part of this free performance analytics thing, there's actually a number of pieces available to you that you can use for free, even if you're going to do your pricing changes somewhere else. We're going to talk a little bit about what data is accessible in our tape chart view. We're going to talk a little bit about how you can use that tape chart view to organize your portfolio, which feeds back into the identify section, because you will be able to use those to set up segments, where to filter your groups of listings into what you want to look at. And we're going to talk about a little bit, if you were using Wheelhouse pricing, how you could easily make those interventions. I do have our intervention article pulled up somewhere right here. This article is pretty awesome. I think this is going to be a really good place, whether or not you're using Wheelhouse to really train people and also check your own processes. A lot of this article, we talk about the strategy for decision making. So it's not so much a product guide as it is a conceptual basis for making interventions. So as you look at this, we will call out things that you can do in Wheelhouse, but we're really talking to you about how to make a decision. How do you decide what to change? Because at the end of the day, everyone's market's going to be different. Everyone's portfolio is going to be different. We can't just give you simple rules, but what we can do is give you a kind of like a mental process to approach decision-making for revenue management. It's a very robust article. We talk a lot about different options that are available. Sometimes we do call out what you can do in Wheelhouse, but we hope you find this really interesting and helpful, particularly to double check your own processes and also train new members of your team. As far as the demo goes, where I'm going to be today is instead of on our performance page, I'm going to be on our portfolio calendar page. So you can see here under the portfolio dropdown, I'm going to hit portfolio calendar. This is going to be a page that many of our revenue managers spend a lot of time on who are using our pricing, because this is a place where you can go and very easily and quickly intervene on your rates. You can make changes to your pricing. You can set fixed pricing. You can change your minimum prices and minimum length of stays. But there's a number of things here that really connect to the identify portion and that can help you even if you're doing your price changes in the PMS or another platform. One of them is this organization portion. So in order to take advantage of the performance page and really look at those specific groups of listings, we have the ability to tag listings in Wheelhouse. These tags are just how you're going to label them. You can see here that all these listings have multiple tags on them, so you can assign them to different groups. And in order to do this, all you have to do is add a tag. So we'll do test tag. We'll save it. You'll see that's here. Once that is applied to a series of listings, I can now filter by that tag. So this is how, where'd that go?
I think we just updated the tag functionality, so you have to click add tag now. It's pretty nice, actually.
Oh, okay, cool. Makes sense. We had some confusion about the behavior before. So now I can just go ahead, find that tag here, and filter to a group of listings. These filters are going to work on the performance page, which everyone will have access to. You can also use it here if you wanted to look at your tape chart, because even if you're identifying these trends, you may still want to glance at the tape chart and see what's available. You can set this. Right now I'm showing the Wheelhouse pricing because I'm running these through Wheelhouse. But if you're not using Wheelhouse, you can change the price to show what your current price is. So you could actually use this tape chart and say, oh, hey, I noticed there's an opportunity in early June. What are my actual prices right now? And you can take a look at those in our system still, even if you're going to make those price changes somewhere else. In addition to these tags and filters, you can save any set of tags as a segment. So Keegan showed you a little bit about what segments do. You can see I have a number of segments built already, some of them by market area, some of them as reports. Once you've saved a segment, you can pull them up here, but you can also pull them up on our performance page. So really awesome. I also believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you can pull these up on our dashboard as well. Perfect. Next kind of piece here is what data is really helpful for you when you're making a decision, because when you've identified a time period, and the identified chapter is really about identifying the time periods that have the most opportunity. You then need to decide what you're going to apply them to. And as we all know, when you're looking at an aggregate, that average might show an opportunity, but not every listing is going to be performing the same way. You may have some listings that are actually underperforming and some listings that are overperforming in an area you've identified as an opportunity. In Wheelhouse, we have the capability to add KPIs to this chart. If you go up here to the upper right to show hide columns and scroll to the bottom, I have two sections that are going to be really helpful: historical metrics and future metrics. These metrics allow me to add columns to the table that calculate data for me to tell me what's going on. So you can see I added a column here. If I'm looking at this, and let me see if I can make there we go, red dot. Right here, I have all of these different KPIs now that I've added, and I can use these to filter my list of listings. So if I'm looking at a list of listings, I'm looking at this date, I can go, well, I really want to know the listings that have been underperforming in the last 30 days. If I click that, it will sort the listings by that KPI. And now if I'm going to make a rate decision, I might say, hey, I thought this was a date range that I was really going to increase the rate, but I have some listings here that I don't really want to include. Andy Test, these 4 bedrooms and the 6 bedroom, they've all been really low occupancy in the past. And even though the whole date range is doing well, I may want to omit them from any rate increase I do because they're actually just not performing at their current rate. In fact, I might even go in and note them down and say, I need to do a deep dive on why they're not performing, or maybe I'm actually just going to drop the rate to see if I can get someone in. There's a number of great KPIs here that you can use. Obviously, all of the occupancy ones are really helpful. This last booked one is one that I find to be really helpful. It's going to count how many days since the last reservation came in. Even if you're not looking at a specific date range, sometimes you can use these just to sort your listings and find listings that you're going to go intervene on and make some changes to. If you're using our platform and business intelligence stuff for free, you could just log in every day, set this up so that you see your KPIs and say, hey, I'm always going to sort by the stuff that hasn't booked, and I'm going to look at my top 10 listings or anything that hasn't booked for over a week, right? I'm going to check those in my own system because I know something may be wrong. I'm going to look at all the listings that are the lowest occupancy over the next 60 days. You can use our platform to sort your listings and get to that information and go make your changes wherever you need to make them. Awesome. Makes sense? Everyone good there?
Can you quickly show if you want to save those columns once you've added them?
If you want to save the columns, all you have to do is go over here and go save as default column set. And then every time you pull up this tape chart, you will see those data columns there. I'm not going to go super deep into this, but there's another minor thing too. When I went to these segments, you saw that I have some labeled as reports. Reports are just a segment. I labeled them report myself, but the thing that makes them a report is instead of sorting to get to these criteria, what I've done is I've actually added them as filters. So you can go, and if you scroll down on the filter section, you'll see that those metrics are still available here. And what I've done is I've set parameters. I'm looking at listings that in the last 7 days, so over the last week, have sold less than 2 room nights. And their occupancy is less than 50%. Now I'm using the platform to just give me a list of listings that basically haven't sold anything in the last week and are low occupancy in the future. You can save these reports and use these metrics and filters to just get lists of listings that you're like, hey, this is my list of what I'm going to look at this week, whether I do that in my PMS or do that in another pricing system. Very, very awesome. I think we have our last workshop too, which if you want some more information, we actually go into some of these in pretty in-depth. Okay, coolio. Next kind of piece here, and this is a piece of business intelligence that is available to you for users as well. You'll notice as I hover over cells here that there's a little triangle that's appearing. This triangle, if I hover over it, is going to give you information on your historical booking, right? If I go up to this display section, I have this turned on. It's called pricing popover. I'm actually going to set it to adjust to day of the week. So when I look at a Friday, I want it to look at last year and the previous year's Fridays. Now, if I'm looking at a date range that I think maybe is an opportunity for me to adjust, and I wanted to just check, I'm thinking, hey, maybe I'm gonna increase the rate. I can hover over this and see if that was booked last year, which I'm having some trouble finding one. If that was booked last year, oh, there's one. If that was booked last year or in previous years, I know what that ADR is because maybe I don't want to go lower than what I did last year and I need to see how much room. Or maybe like in this case, it's like I was booked in 2023, but I wasn't booked in 2024. So that's maybe a concern for me, right? It's like, oh, hey, like I can set this price to whatever I want because that's going to be more money this year because I didn't book it last year. This is available for every listing and every day. And if you're making decisions about where you want to change them, regardless of where you're changing them, you can spot check this data through our platform. Final piece, and I'll keep this one real short before I pass it off to Ashley. This is also the hub of where you would make changes if you were using Wheelhouse pricing. Obviously, Wheelhouse is a revenue management platform. We have tons of ability for you to customize your pricing. We do offer a dynamic pricing algorithm as well, which you can utilize as much or as little as you want when using Wheelhouse. I do, obviously I'm biased, but I'm pretty sure that our algorithm is the best. We have published all of our research if you want to get access to that. And over the last 3 months and the coming 3 months, we're releasing major updates to the algorithm that are just frankly awesome. If you are using Wheelhouse pricing and your pricing comes from Wheelhouse, you can make those changes and interventions that this article talks about directly on this tape chart. You can see here, I can click and drag to select listings and dates. I have tons of options to change my rates. I can change them by percentages. I can change them by fixed rates. So I can set rates whatever I want. I can do this by day of the week. So I could just change Fridays or Saturdays if I wanted to. I can set these to expire. So if an owner was like, hey, I want you to set a $500 rate for this date, and you're like, well, I think that's a little too high. Why don't we set it until 30 days out? You could implement that owner request, set an expiration date so that you don't forget about it, and it'll pull right off. In addition to that, we can change minimum length of stay from here. These will be an override, so it won't change your overall structure. So if you change it here, it won't change it for next year. That's also true for the rate changes. There are some practices in the space that kind of cause people to make changes based on what's going on now, but it changes everything in the future. Anything done on this platform is going to be an override for these specific dates. You can change minimum prices, max prices, and you can leave notes. What's really cool about this is any changes you make are going to be highly visible. If I go ahead and just change some dates here, we will give you icons to show you that those rates have changed. Let me actually change this back to Wheelhouse pricing. So you can easily identify if any dates have changes. You can see I've been using my test account to change a lot. If you hover over it, it'll tell you when that change was made. So you get a little bit of a change log. And we can load up to 1,000 units for 18 months on this chart and platform. So you can change up to 1,000 units at a time if you really needed to. There's a lot of great options here if you are using Wheelhouse pricing. But even for those who are just going to use us for our free business intelligence that we're releasing, there's tons of tools here to help you make better decisions and really fine-tune your revenue management. Awesome. Actually, I'll hold this on you on the screen.
Thanks. All right, so we're gonna talk about communication as well with this. So it's using the data that we kind of talked about to report performance and also to compare to the market. So we're gonna kind of cover comparisons. I know Keegan went into same time last year, but I also want to talk a little bit about segments, assigned listings, and sets for comparisons. We're also going to talk about dynamic sets. We'll briefly touch on this. Dynamic sets is a paid Wheelhouse item, I guess you could say, or purchase where you can actually create a comp set based on several different filters and polygons within an area. Doesn't necessarily have to be within your market. It can be any market globally. So if you're looking for acquisition, anything like that, you can focus on dynamic sets. But we can do reporting and look at the data where we can compare to a set if you have one built out and you are a Wheelhouse user. I also want to talk about recommended versus observed pricing. So this is great for individual listings. This is great at looking at an overall portfolio. We will hover over that in a little bit on the demo and kind of talk about that briefly. And then last but not least, I know JDR mentioned that In Context is also available for free for people right now. So we are going to cover an In Context chart on an individual listing page. And this is something that you can export to show to any stakeholders. But also, this is something that JDR and I actually did a webinar about recently. And so we just want to make sure that you have the webinar link to that to dive in a little bit further, which I'm sure we're happy to share with you at the end of this webinar. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take it over from here. All right. We're going to start on, once again, the performance page at the very top of Wheelhouse. And this is actually looking at a portfolio. I do have it compared to the same time last year. And I know Keegan talked about utilizing booked nights. I do the same for the same reason. I think the data is a little clearer for me and easier to read looking at book nights versus occupancy. So overall, you can see same time last year, technically under highlights, this portfolio is doing much better year over year. But one thing I want to show you on this sales analysis chart, or this book tonight's pickup chart that we're looking at, is the overlay of average daily rate. I know Keegan touched on this, but I'm more than happy to show it. So as Keegan mentioned, we are showing the total booked nights, and I have it set to weekly. To me, that's easier to read overall when first starting out. But I also have it highlighted for last 7 days. So for instance, if I made a change last Thursday And I'm wanting to see, hey, what's happened in the past week? Did that change help or hurt my portfolio for pickup? This is where I can look at the last 7 days and see on that pink if any change I've made during this time period, specifically June, July, so summer, I can see if it's helped my pickup or hurt it. Obviously, this portfolio has gotten a few booked nights in the past week over summer, which is positive. And overall, compared to last year, which is the green, they are pacing ahead in booked nights. As far as average daily rate, you can see that the average daily rate is actually coming in. I'll hide those for a bit as the dotted pink and green lines across the screen. So last year, it's going to follow the same color code that you see at the top here under highlights and under the breakdown. Last year will be green. This year will be pink. And I can see that even though I'm pacing ahead in booked tonight, especially, I'll highlight these right here. Thank you, JDR, for circling them. But the week of June 1st, June 8th, June 15th, June 22nd, and even the 29th, this year my book nights is pacing ahead versus last year. But this year's ADR is also sitting higher than last year. And it's almost following the same trend, but it is pacing higher. So essentially, in my opinion, this is a win-win for this portfolio. I'm getting more book night at a higher ADR across the portfolio for this time period. So that's a good thing. This is also where you can see, hey, maybe I'm pacing higher. So we can actually look at August. Maybe I'm pacing higher for certain weeks, but my ADR is actually lower year over year. So maybe that is a just a tip or something to visualize where, hey, I may be able to make an adjustment here in my rate and still get high booking volume. Or maybe my ADR is sitting too high and my book nights is sitting too low. Maybe I need to lower my ADR a bit, lower my rate, so I can then pick up my book night. So this is a really cool way to just kind of help with performance. Another thing that you can utilize within this performance page and within this chart is dynamic sets. So if you are a paid Wheelhouse user and you have a dynamic set, you can actually choose any assigned listings that you have to a set to compare to. In the drop-down where you normally choose portfolio, you can choose your assigned listings. You can also choose which set you want to compare it to. So for instance, this is looking at Driggs, Idaho, 4-bed, 3-bath that sleep 8 to 10. This is looking at my assigned listings within my portfolio. And then it's looking at the set I've built out for that exact same filter. And I can see that my set is actually performing better than I am right now with booked nights. So my set is at 190 booked nights from May 1st through September 30th. I'm only at 165. So I'm able to see that comparison here. I'm also able to, with my overlay, I'm able to see the ADR. And I can see that my ADR is actually pacing higher than my set. So maybe that's why my book nights or my occupancy is not as strong as my set. Maybe this is a sign that I need to lower my rates. I need to get it more in line with what I'm seeing with my comp set in order to then pick up more occupancy. One awesome thing that we can also see with this, this is one of my favorites, is if you have your pickup chart set to daily, you can actually go to overlay to here. And if you scroll down to prices, you can look at observed price and recommended price. And this is looking at a full portfolio. And this is showing my observed price is in blue. And then my recommended price is going to be in pink. So if I overlay those with each other, I can see where my pricing may be much higher than what is recommended for the market. And that could be potentially where I'm falling short with my book tonight. So if I actually throw my book tonight back in here, it's showing daily. I'm actually up right here, which is a good thing because my pricing's higher. But it could show, further out, anything like that, where maybe I'm dropping the ball and I'm not doing as well year over year, maybe because my pricing's too high. So this is a really cool way to kind of see where the overlap is on your pricing. You can also filter this down to a specific address or a specific listing. So I'm actually going to filter by address here. And I happen to know just the address to use. But once you filter that out, I'm actually going to turn these off. This is also showing the observed price and the recommended price for this particular property only. So I can see that my observed price is actually sitting pretty high here in June. I'm actually a little lower. I reset my zoom over July 4th than what's recommended. But then the rest of July and then into August, I'm a little high. So this is also where I can pull my total booked nights. You can see I'm pretty much right on par year over year, but maybe I can excel and get more book nights if I were to lower my rate. So this is just a really cool overlay to utilize as needed to see kind of where you are compared to where the pricing is recommended.
May I interject for a moment, Ashley?
Absolutely.
So for those who are using us as a free BI platform, this is helpful in a certain way. So the observed price for you will be the price that you have in your system. So it's the price you're setting. You have the option to always see what the Wheelhouse recommended algorithm is. So if you're looking and you wanted to be like, well, what does Wheelhouse think about these days? You can use this view and say, oh, well, Wheelhouse thinks that this day is pretty important, but this day isn't that important. And you can use that to kind of go judge what it is you want to do. You'd be like, hey, this is how I'm pricing, but does Wheelhouse see something that I don't? And even if you're not using our pricing, you can actually access this kind of basic intelligence about what the Wheelhouse algorithm is thinking about certain days.
Awesome. Last but not least, I want to cover an in-context chart for an individual listing. So if you connect to Wheelhouse, connect your PMS and integrate, you will be able to see an individual listing page, and you will have what we call the in-context chart. There are several different views for an in-context chart that all live here. Most of the time you see a detailed, that's actually the default. You are able to even create your own view of an in-context chart. But I have this set up currently showing the current pricing, current Wheelhouse pricing for this property. And I also have it currently showing the market 25 to 75 percentile and the market median. And so this is showing how my pricing is compared to the market 25 to 75 percentile and the market median. So you can see I'm actually pushing a really, really high rate here over July 4th for this property. And I'm actually a little above that 75 percentile. So maybe my rate is too high compared to the market. But this is a really cool tool to kind of utilize to see exactly where pricing falls. If you are using this for free and testing it out, kind of like what JDR just mentioned with the observed and recommended prices, you can utilize your prices observed here, which will show as a blue line. So that will be your current pricing of what you're pushing for an individual listing. And current settings, the pink line, will actually be Wheelhouse pricing. So you can also see there where the differences may lie. And you can also still utilize this market 25 to 75 percentile and the market median to compare to see where you may need to make adjustments or where we recommend making adjustments. If you are a paid Wheelhouse user, you can utilize your sets here as well, your dynamic sets. And if you break that down even more, you're able to see your set 25 to 75 percentile and your set median. So this is basically your comp set that you've built out. I know that this set in particular has 20 listings that are very comparable to this property that I'm using. And I'm able to see exactly where my pricing falls in comparison to my dynamic set. So this in-context chart is just a great visual to utilize when needing to see where your pricing is, where it falls, and then what adjustments may need to be made and when. Any questions on my end?
One final piece, Ashley, because this context chart is really great, especially for owner communications or reporting to people. Can you show the export and like how people can grab these views to
Absolutely. So one thing I talked about, you can create your own view here. We do have people that create their own view of this in context chart and name it an owner view. And in doing so, you can actually go to the gear icon in the top right, and you can export this chart as a JPEG, as a PDF, or even as a CSV, and it will break down as a table. So that is something that you're more than welcome to download and share with an owner. And that way you can kind of control what specifically you want to share with your owner. So we have all these different series here, which is what you see on this legend at the bottom. So if you want to select different things to show your owners, maybe they want to look at last year's bookings or last year's prices, you can have that included in here. And you can then download maybe a JPEG, and then it will populate for you to share with an owner. You can also, on these charts, you are able to export these as well as a JPEG, PDF, or CSV. You can also use it as a table. So this is something, if you download the CSV, it would mainly look like the table option here, but you can utilize the chart view as well and download the image.
And one small piece of clarification, Ashley has mentioned that the sets, which is like when you build your own comp set or market data, is a paid thing. It is a standalone product. So you can build sets without paying and access data to see and experiment. You do not have to be using Wheelhouse pricing to get access to that market data. So if you say, we're doing your pricing on your own, but you wanted to use these visualizations and be able to show owners comp set data, you can do those. The performance BI, the performance analytics is going to be free. You can choose when and where to pay for market data, but they are separate products from the pricing. Awesome. Anything else, Ashley?
No. Any questions?
All right. We'll really appreciate all you guys' time. I know we threw a lot at you, but there's some really cool stuff here between our performance page, our in-context charts on the individual listings, and our business intelligence on our tape chart. All of that is free to anyone who creates a Wheelhouse account and connects their account. That's going to be free ongoing. So this isn't just a promotion. We're releasing these for everyone. And all you have to do is log into Wheelhouse, create an account for free, and then there'll be instructions on how to link your account. So if we have your PMS connection, you just connect it and you'll be able to access this for free. If you want to know how to use those business intelligence tools, please check out our education guide. It's really awesome. We're going to be continuing to develop this, but we put a lot of work in, and it's a very robust tool on how to do revenue management. And finally, if you want to know a little bit more, you're happy to reach out to our team. We'd love to connect with you and help you, be in a position to be as successful as you can this year. Awesome. So we'll hold on for a minute for any questions, but otherwise, really appreciate your time today. And, let us know if we can help you in any way. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
We do like another minute in case someone asks a question, but no, close enough.